Do you even know who the fuck I am? Do ya? Alright, what is up, guys? We are trying something a little bit different, a lot of bit different today, and that is going to be overviewing the racetracks, uh, trying to learn how to predict them, what to look for, how to not drive through a slick, where the slick moves, and where you should move around on the racetrack. Because time and time again, you'll see a person go out for qualifying, you're like, oh, which line you gonna run? And they go, I don't know. What the fuck do you mean you don't know? You gotta have a plan in place. It's the easiest way to get an advantage on someone is knowing, what's gonna happen, throughout a race. And, like I said, qualifying is such a big aspect on, just iRacing in general, but, short dirt track racing. And, you've recently in a bunch of leagues, there's been, single car qualifying where you get to watch everybody's lap. They set one car out at a time. And you'll see someone go out and, set a banger of a lap, run in some line, and then you'll see the next guy, the next guy, the next guy, and the next 10 people not even run that same fucking line. And they just go off, they're driving through the slick, they're fucking lost. They don't know what they're doing. You should never be 2/10 off in qualifying. Ever. Doesn't matter the setup. If you run the right line, you will never be 2/10 off in qualifying. There's nothing you can do setup wise that will gain or lose you 2/10 in qualifying. Now, besides maybe the fucking gear. Not even that probably. But if you run the right line, you're guaranteed to be, top 10 within a tenth somewhere. It doesn't matter what setup you have. If you run the wrong damn line in qualifying, it's just gonna be a bad night for you. Because you're gonna be off. You're gonna be like, oh, what the hell? It ain't nothing to do with the setup. It's just the line. And so I did this. I got all these screenshots. I put in all this work, and I made this video. And it was like a 50-minute video. And I forgot like 4 fucking tracks, Volusia being one of them. But so I figured, fuck it, we'll just do one track per video, break it down even more, so I don't rush through it. And because this week that's where 410s are at, and a lot of people are trying to prep for the qualifying series. So we'll just start at Volusia and try to get this video up at the weekend. But yeah, Volusia, egg shaped, weird, back straightaway. A little bit curved here. Hope you guys can see my mouse. You'll see up from above here, turns 1 and 2, a little tighter than 3 and 4. Like I said, egg shaped, and then 3 and 4 wider. And you see weird with the wall right there. You gotta watch this opening right here, but you see this turn 1 here. Look at this. Boop. Alright, so here's turn 1 and 2 from above. So grab our little black marker here, and we'll use this to draw the slick on the racetrack, alright? And then we're going to have your green line be the vast line at the time. And we'll show how the track, during qualifying and then throughout the night progresses. Like I said, there's no better feeling than running a line, top, bottom, middle, whatever, and then you're like, I think this line's going away. So you change lines, and then the next lap, the next time you come around to that set of corners, you see a new slick patch rendered in, and you're like, bam, nailed it. Knew that bitch was going to fucking go away, and you switched lines, because it just got a little bit more slicker, and you said, gotta bail. And it's just a really cool feeling, and, you generally the first person to, find that, find the lane change, they can gain 1 or 2 spots before everyone else sees it and changes lines too. And that's why you gotta be, like I said, that very lap, that precise sometimes can make or break the difference of fucking even going out and winning a race. So generally a Volusia, well, even before you get in the server, Volusia is one of the worst Volusia is the worst track when it comes, USA's up there, one of the worst tracks when it comes to pre-gen, because you can get in a race, it can load up 10%, and you can get black slick all on the bottom just like that. Now, don't worry about that. But if you do have a pre-gen racetrack, so if you do have pre-gen slick like that, The difference between pre-gen and a natural worn-in slick is with the pre-gen, yes, that's very slick, but right up close to it, right next to it, is still plenty fresh. Like I said, all these pictures are going to be from above on a fresh track, so you're not going to see once the, it's going to look different in game once the loose dirt kind of blows off. But right next to the track, right next to that slick it's 0%. Think of it as completely fresh. So you can come along and you can be, right on that slick and just right above it. Want your left rear planted right in it, and then you want to be as low as possible, make that corner as short as possible. But with natural pre-gen slick, it's not that way because there's more laps. You gotta think, think top, bottom, middle are 3 zones, and think that corner exit, middle, and entrance. How many laps are in each zone on each part of the racetrack? So right now you would say, all right, the bottom has, say that slick is 100 laps in, all right? And then so everybody's running real close above it, but so now you got to think, all right, now there's 50 laps in the middle. But you have to think that means there's a little bit of, the track is a little bit more worn right next to that, and that's especially a natural slick. When it's pre-gen, you can stick to that slick for a long time, but if it's a natural slick, you generally want to be more up towards where you'll see the crumbs on the racetrack. You want to be a little higher up, about a half lane up, than you normally would right on the slick, because it's slimy. The slick spots aren't rendered in, but you can feel it. It's there. It's going to cause you to get a little bit of wheel spin. You always want to be reaching out for that next higher line just about every time, because that's where the freshest next new dirt to get to is. And what you'll see with the is you're essentially doing that throughout the night. You're just chasing the best dirt is all you're doing. And some of these tracks you'll see where there's a certain spot where it's like, all right, you're looking for something here on the top of 2, or you're looking for something on entrance. We're looking to spot where the freshest dirt on the track is. All right, every track's going to start the same. You're going to start the shortest way around the track on the bottom. Then that gets slick, so it pushes wider and wider and wider, and that's every track. But eventually, it becomes too long around. Track gets slicker, and then that's when you see the bottom start coming in, or a cut down, or a slagger, or different lines start coming in. All right, so just take notes on that for pre-gen. Pre-gen, stick to it. Natural slick, get away from it more often. Now we're talking about a clean track, a fresh track. Generally, your first slick spot in 1 and 2 is going to be right here. We're going to do an overhead of 3 and 4 also. You're going to get a little slick spot on entrance. Actually, it's really back here a little bit more. But given the picture, we'll say it's up there. So, and that's from cars. When the track's first fresh, they come in. Here's where they make their turn in. That's where they have the most wheel spin. And then they go throughout the corner. All right, so that's why that slick patch develops right there. So now, you have to think. We can either go above it, or we can go below it. Where's the benefits? But now, given the shape of this corner, in 1 and 2, and it's so far back down the front straightaway that you feel like you can cheat it too sometimes. You're like, well, that's not going to cost me any speed. I can cheat through there and then hit the middle right on the crumbs generally. Because right now, we'll just say qualifying, we'll put gray out here. Here's the crumb line. I don't know if you guys can see that really good. So we'll just say that's what the crumbs look like. And then it'll widen out to the wall. So you're like, well, I can just come in here and cheat that really good and then hit the crumbs and do that. Doesn't always work. That slick is slicker than you think. What I generally find is there's a little bit of a bump right here, right on the wall. If you can hit that right, it kind of steers you down the racetrack. It almost gives you a little downhill run, but it's always just above that little slick patch. Where if you enter above it right and turning at the right time, it's boom. It's worth like half a tenth. And you basically do that, and then you just come around on the crumbs. Don't go that wide. Just get that entrance. And just clean it up a little bit. Generally you stay above it. There are times when you can slide up, but then once you slide up, the way this corner is angled, because this is the more narrow part of the racetrack, you're going to end up washing up the corner like this. So you're going to be so much higher here, and you're going to lose that time right there. You might gain some on entrance, but you're going to lose it on exit there, and then you're going to lose it more and more and more down the straightaway, because what this outside line did is when they come downhill, they made their straightaway longer. So their straightaway starts right here, whereas that inside slider line, their straightaway doesn't start to right about here. Picture it that way. So they have the momentum, they carry it all the way down the back straightaway, and that's why carrying the momentum around the slick spot is generally the way to go. And it's always pretty much flat foot here at Volusia. So that's for qualifying. Let's get that out of there now. So now we have more slick. Generally, it just keeps pushing up further and 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 further. Eventually out the corner, but it gets higher up here. And like I said, that's essentially our qualifying run then. This will get a little bit bigger here, a little wider out. So now, like I said, where our qualifying line was probably about that. So now we can't run that line anymore. We have to go above it, widen it out. Now the thing also becomes, well, there's now that grip down here where you cheat below it, that can kind of come in and work. You can enter a slide job cheat. Well, even sometimes there isn't right here. This might not even be there. You'll have this slick right here through the middle, and then you'll have that patch there, but there will be a gap right here, and that's where you can see this slider line come in. You can cheat the entrance, gain a tenth and a half, 2/10, whatever, slide up, and then merge with that line. You gotta, and that's as long as there's grip on exit here, because if you slide up too much and you start getting really close to this outside wall, that's where the big cushion starts building up, is right there. That's the first place you'll start seeing a cushion. But you gotta watch for that. That's your first thing to watch for. If you're not gonna run above the slick, then you're gonna start running that slider line there. Just boom, right up the racetrack. All right. Then eventually that gets more slick, that goes away. So slick that up more, a little bit more. All right, and then we'll even get a little more down there. So now we got is this slick, and this trails off further down the back straightaway too. Now when people start coming in, it gets really narrow on the exit of 2 right here. So they start getting sideways and spinning out down the straightaway. So what we can do is we come in, we run above the slick, and then we almost cut down, because where's the freshest part of the track? Where it has the least amount of laps been run? The very bottom on the exit of 2, because nobody could run that once you had the slick in the middle. Nobody can run that. So it's just coming back in where you can actually start cutting down the racetrack, get into that grip. That's generally once that slider line goes away. You can start cutting down to the slick. If you're really good, you can sometimes score that bottom. Generally, you want a full car width. You want to at least be able to fit your entire, and this is primarily sprint cars I'm talking about, but it does relate to late models also. But generally, this is going to be all for sprint cars. If you have a full car width, you can put 4 tires in the grip, then you can hit the bottom. It's good. But if you see where it's narrow, where you can only really get your left sides in, then you have to slow down more. Generally, that means the line is still up top. You have to slow down too much. Sometimes the slick will start further up the track, and you'll have a full car width there. By all means, go for it. Because once you get that traction, you get all this good juice off the bottom. And that's the thing with 1 and 2 here. On the way the track narrows, the way the track widens out, it looks really narrow, honestly. It's more narrow here than it is in the center of the corner. But because the way Volusia is, because it's a curved back straightaway, and the way the wall is shaped, let's go back to our overhead picture. So yeah, it doesn't open up at all, but because you have all the cars generally coming up out of here, and it's a turned straightaway, that's where you get all the slick, is way up here, and that's why you're able to, the bottom works so well. It's not great on entrance, but on exit, you can get this whole line, and you can go along the whole back straightaway wall, and the grip stays there. Stays there pretty much all night. And that's why you see the bottom work so good in 1 and 2 here. So, and that's how it works. Then once even, well, let's go back to turns 1 and 2. So say everything's black slick, then you get different lines, because you see, like I said, you have that bottom come in, then that top is still there, just getting wider and wider and wider, and the exit's getting harder and harder and harder because the slick is also right up against the wall. But that's when you see that little middle line come in. Then that's back to your qualifying heat race line. That's the next part. You'll see the lighter dirt. It won't be fresh dirt, but it'll be lighter dirt, because that's where the least amount of laps are ran then, because nobody runs there after heat race number 2 or whatever. So that ends up being the freshest part of the racetrack, and that's where you can see just the middle roll in, get enough exit, get the car low enough, and that's when you see the middle come in. And sometimes it gets so slick on the exit of 2, you can enter high, keep speed, and then try to cut down a little bit to the middle. You're not going to be able to cut down all the way to the bottom, but you can kind of cut down below that, because of how black the straightaway gets on the top. So instead of running the top all the way around, you kind of cut it down to the middle to keep momentum up. So that's 1 and 2. We will go through 3 and 4 now. So here's the back straightaway coming in, exit of 4 out. Big thing is watch for these tires once you get the bottom, but same thing. Slick patch starts here. Generally there's a little bit of a gap before the slick hits here, but it's all bottom. And then usually for Q, it's just right around middle. Sometimes there's a bottom, it depends if there's, like I said, any pre-gen or how much your track is worn, how fresh it started. If you can grab the inside wall, if there's no slick, grab the inside wall. Don't run the crumbs. If there's no slick, run the inside wall, and especially be as low as you can out of turn 4. You're going to notice that about a lot of these tracks. You want to be very low off of turn 4 in qualifying. There's a number of tracks where it's like that. So that's going to be a reoccurring theme. But yeah, same thing then, where you have that gap right here, where you can end up slagging it, because what happens is this slick right here gets so wide, it's like, okay, you enter above it, but then you either get, because there's that built-in banking where the banking kind of goes up to here and then it flattens out, and people going above this slick and then they miss coming down, and then they're kind of stuck up there and they'll lose 2-3 tenths because they can't get down back over the little bit of banking that's right there in 3 and 4. So that's when it's generally better to just cheat it in and then slag it up. And then it's the same thing that happens out of 2. You get really, really slick here out of 4, just the way the track narrows already, but then it builds up that little cushion and you get guys spinning out and it gets so narrow. That's what makes this track really tough. So then eventually the slick moves in here, and then it gets higher in the middle. Like I said, you're going to be getting slicker out of 4. Sometimes, like I said, there might even be a gap right here on exit where you can run a little bit of a cut down then again. You got to watch for that. You're really watching for how good is this dirt on the bottom out in the exit of 4. Because if you look how this turn is shaped, it's really, the wall bends a lot right here. All right, if you think back to your math class, think of a protractor. All right, bam. That's what every corner is on a racetrack. I know them. 180 degrees. Granted, on this track, it actually might even be a little bit more, just because it's an egg shape. But just for simplistic reason, think of it 180 degrees. You got 0 degrees here, 180 there. And it's just, you got your little protractor. And the corner gets so sharp right here, that's what leaves a lot of this dirt really, really fresh right here, all right? So let's back all this shit off. And that's what you're looking for. As the track gets wider, you're looking for a tell. All right, now can I arc this in here, maybe even get below that slick right here, get it in, keep my left sides here, but then boom, grab all this dirt off on exit. And like I said, it gets really rough up here, gets slick on exit because everyone's running a slider or just coming down off the top, and the way the track narrows, it gets really slick up there. And that's what you're looking for. The first thing is how much grip you can get on the exit of 4 right there by pit entry. Like I said though, watch out for those tires. Then eventually that goes away. And that line kind of gets slick. Top gets wider and wider and wider. And then look at this, reoccurring. You get that middle line in then. Because then you're looking for light dirt right here. Because you're going to have slick below it. You're going to have tongue of slick above it. Then you're looking for the light dirt right there to see if the middle comes in. There'll generally be a little bit of lighter dirt all throughout the middle. Like I said, the top is the top. How well you can bang that cushion. If you're comfortable up there, guys will stay up there. But yeah, that's pretty much Volusia. Everyone talks about throttle control, how to drive through a slick, and blah blah blah. And this track's a really good one just because it's so flat, so it offers up different lanes opening up like that. And so those are the little hints you're looking for, is what line to run on the track. Because like I said, every track starts the same. It's the same characteristics. It gets wider and wider and wider. And eventually, the shorter comes back in, where you slow down, run the bottom. That comes in. People keep running on the top. Then everyone goes to the bottom. Then bottom gets worn. So then middle opens back up. That's the general theme of all dirt tracks, and that's the same as late models. It's like I said, all dirt racing, because it's all about how many laps are ran where. And now this changes with different banked tracks, such as Fairbury or maybe a Lima Land. You'll see it where the line won't change nearly as much. Volusia is one of the better ones, but those are what you're looking for Volusia. Those are how to just you don't have to get good at driving through a slick. Just avoid the slick completely. Know what to hit, know when to slow down and try to hit something, know what to aim for, what to look for, and I guarantee you it'll make you better throughout not only long runs during races, but also late in races. I love a good 20 lap run in a race, because that's when you really see the lanes shift around, instead when you get 5 laps, because if yellows, then it's kind of harder, because then you're like, all right, bottom might be there, you try it on a restart, then you end up getting past because it's not there yet, but then on the next restart it comes in and someone behind you finds it, because you're like, oh well, I'm not going down there, last restart it sucked, but they came down there on the right restart, blew your doors off, and you're like, oh shit, now we lost spots. So that is how to race Volusia. Thank you for watching. There's a smiley face. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys show some love for this. We'll continue this series. We'll go through every track. And yeah, as always, peace the fuck out.